Coming up on Meet the Leaders, cleaning up blighted properties in the town of Brookhaven and the continued success of green initiatives. Meet the Leaders starts now.
Oh, that, okay.
Hi, I'm Pat Halpin. Welcome to Meet the Leaders, the show getting you to the heart of local government right here, right now, from the town of Brookhaven, Councilwoman Connie Kepert. Connie, it's great to have you back on Meet the Leaders.
It's great to be back, Pat.
You know, people wonder whether their vote counts. And you were just reelected by a landslide. How many votes did you win by?
We won by a whopping 4 votes.
4 votes.
4 votes,
Now this
yes.
was, how many elections have you had as councilwoman?
Well, let's see. Well, I was first elected in 2005, took office in January of 2006.
And so every 2 years
Every
since
2
then.
years, yes.
How many people came up to you to apologize that they didn't vote and you were in this nail biter? And your election wasn't even certified until after the new year.
Right. Many people were really apoplectic, that they did not make it to the polls. They were, begging me, Connie, please don't make it just by 1 vote, because they really would have felt bad.
No, it would have been worse if you had lost by 1 vote.
Lost, that's it, yes. And then I had the opposite, where folks would come up to me and say, Connie, it was me and my family that put you over the top. We have 4 people, which is great, because, we always try to hammer home that every vote counts. And now people realize that.
And realize it's
yes,
true.
Absolutely
and of
true,
course,
yes.
in Brookhaven, council members run, and so does the supervisor.
Yes.
Every 2 years,
Yes.
So you're up again this November.
Yes, it's a very, very short term. I think all of our...
They should change that. Most
Yeah.
towns have 4-year terms
Yes,
for the
yes.
supervisor and the members of the council.
Yes, I agree, because in government, as you know,
Right.
it is very, very difficult to get anything done in a 2-year term. Just because of the process, and particularly when we're talking about large projects.
Yep.
You have to get the funding, you have to get approvals, site plan approvals, all the environmental approvals that you have to get. It does not happen, quickly. So it really makes sense to allow the elected officials to concentrate on what's important, which is serving their constituents, rather than running for re-election.
The council and the supervisor should put it up, let the voters decide, put it
Yes.
on there as a referendum.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm convinced that most people would see the wisdom
Yes.
of that, but that's just me speaking. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about the things that you have worked on.
Okay.
And just to refresh people's memory, you're not a politician. You run on political parties like everybody does, but you're a community person. You were a civic leader. You, for many, many years, because I knew you before you got elected, was saying we could do a lot better with planning.
Yes.
That there are communities throughout Brookhaven that the commercial areas are not planned well. They're struggling. They're
Yes.
going out of business, and we got to do something about it. So over that time, nearly 10 years, you have done a lot about it. So let's talk about the first area. There are blighted properties. That was always top of your list. Basically,
Right.
abandoned commercial
Yes.
areas that were sitting there as ghost towns of blight.
Yes. And, when I'll give credit to our previous supervisor, Mark Lesko, he initiated the Blight to Light program. So with that, came additional incentives to redevelop those properties that we had been targeting, such as the Quorum UA Theater. That was a monument to blight. It was
Now,
one
for
of
people
our
who don't know,
monuments to blight.
explain the road that's on.
That is on Route 112 and 25, so it's right at the crossroads of Route 112 and 25 on the northwest corner. Now we are just about set. I think today is the day that they're going to open up the leasing of the apartments in there. So that has been an enormous success.
So what you've done is, go ahead.
176 units going in there. And it's a mixed-use project. It has a little main street running through it that connects 25 with Route 112, where we'll have a mix of uses. It has a green space for the kids. It has playgrounds, a community center for everybody to use in Quorum, and it is tax positive for the school district.
Right. So and you're providing housing that people need and that people want.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
I invite anybody who's familiar with that area, go there, get out of your car, and walk around
Yes.
because it's going to.
And it looks beautiful.
Phenomenal. It's
it
phenomenal.
looks beautiful. So
How
they've done
much
a great
was
job.
that private sector investment? Do you have any idea?
Oh, I think it was.
It has to be in the tens of millions of
It,
dollars.
yeah, absolutely. I think in the range of 53 million.
Right. So
Yes.
when people often say, well, how do you attract private sector investment? Well, the first thing you have to have are the kinds of codes, building codes,
Yes.
that would allow something like that to happen, and the investment will come.
Yes, you have to have the zoning in place.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you have to do. And then this took it was a long-term effort. I worked very, very hard with our planning commissioner, Tullio Bartoli. We worked on this plan, just hours and hours to get the plan right. Along with the developers, kind of for realty.
And we have some photos, so as you're
CBC.
talking about this, I'm going to ask my
Yes.
producer to put them up.
Yes.
And there's information on there about a website as well.
Excellent. Good. And that was just one of the projects we had.
So we
to
have the
control.
old theater that's up
Yes.
there now, and of course all that has changed. Now, you were saying when you first moved into the area, you used to go to that theater.
Yes.
But as we have found, people don't want to. People have changed kind of the way they're living their lives, and places like that have become obsolete.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. More people see
And
movies on the internet.
And the
Yes.
zoning has to change accordingly.
Yes, absolutely. That was a terribly blighted property where we had homeless people living within a dilapidated theater.
Wow.
Now it's a vibrant mixed-use development. So I'm very, very proud of that.
And that took all of the 10 years you've been in
Yes.
office to make that happen. Okay, let's talk about the Sandy Hills development. That's
Sandy Hills.
affordable housing for veterans.
It is. And, one of the things that amazed me about this process, I mean, everybody, talks the talk as far as veterans are concerned, but we have many homeless veterans.
Right.
They need places to live. Concern for Independent Living with Ralph Frisano, he is dedicated to providing places, nice places for our veterans to live when they come back after serving, for us.
I just saw a piece on CBS, 60 Minutes, about this group of Marines who have these reunions. And one of these veterans came home, basically how they adapt.
Right.
One of them came home and he admitted, I was homeless.
Yes.
And fortunately, he has a support group among these Marines, but for a while, he was homeless until he got help, like the kind of help you're talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, at the hearing for the change of zone on Sandy Hills, we had veterans come before us. It was, people on the board were crying, people in the audience.
So that just shouldn't happen.
It
but it
should
does.
not happen. And so, Concern for Independent Living, they are, they're a great organization, and they will provide homes primarily for veterans.
So that's at the Sandy Hills development.
Yes.
How many homes are they
It's
anticipating?
132.
132, that's phenomenal.
Yes.
The Meadows at Yapank.
Meadows at Yapank, another great development, yes.
Talk about
another
that.
mixed-use development.
What was there before?
Well, that was the area that Breslin wanted to develop as, his
Wasn't that part
project.
of the Meadows racetrack?
It
They had
used
a
to be way
plan
back.
when
Yes.
they used to have
Horses,
quarter
yes.
horses there. It was a quarter horse track. They thought
You're
it was gonna be
going
the
way
next
back,
time.
yes.
That's how old I am.
Yes. But this is a real mixed use. It's going to, again, have a main street. It's going to have a mix of housing options. So it will have multifamily as well as PRC. It's going to have a commercial sector and as well as office. So it is a tremendous mixed use, and it also has enormous benefits provided to the community. They're going to do baseball fields and soccer fields, as well as a community center.
So where is that in the process of approvals and breaking ground?
We have provided the approvals for them, and now we're just waiting for them to start.
Well, now that the snow is melting
Yes.
and the ground is getting
Yes,
softer,
yes.
I'm sure they're anxious to get started.
Yes.
That's going to be a phenomenal project.
That is a great project. It's a great project, and the developer there was very, very accommodating. When we were looking at the site plan and making sure that it had those sustainable components in it. So it's going to be another wonderful project, which we can all be proud of.
And again, it makes the case why you need to have people in office that see these projects
Yes.
through. Because the local council person, Brookhaven's got these council districts,
Yes,
which is a big improvement over at large. But you have to be the ones that champion these initiatives. Otherwise, it could just die on the vine, even if everybody wants to see it happen.
That's right. And sometimes that happens. I mean, council members have different views on these things. So, unfortunately, in some places, all they want to approve is planned retirement community. But we need places for our young people also. That's why they're leaving Long Island.
That's right.
So we need to create jobs for them. Many of these investments, and one of the things we haven't stressed is that, they are an investment not only in the construction phase, which is enormous, but then afterwards. When you're talking about building office units and industrial development, these are jobs that keep our young people on the
and I
island.
keep saying that when you have private investment in projects like this, that is a vote of confidence. That is a vote of confidence for what, in this case, the town is doing, because nobody invests tens of millions of dollars with the thought that they're going to lose money. We'll have more with Connie Kepert right after this break, so stay tuned.
Hold music is no one's favorite track. In fact, the whole idea of holding is a bit archaic. So at Optimum, we let you get in touch with us the way you want, whenever you want. Email, tweet, or chat online. And with a wide range of video tutorials and FAQs, we might have your question already answered. Best of all, no elevator music.
Good to know.
Connect your way at optimum.net/support. Optimize your service.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Freewheel, the all-Wi-Fi device powered by Optimum Wi-Fi. If you've got Wi-Fi, you've got service.
Hi, welcome back to Meet the Leaders. Here with Connie Kepert, councilwoman from the town of Brookhaven. Connie, your council district is made up of what communities?
Well, we go from Middle Island in the north all the way down to the Great South Bay in Brookhaven Hamlet. And then I go from Coram in the west all the way to Ridge in the east.
Oh, okay. That's a very interesting, diverse district. And
Yes,
we were just talking about various things that are going on in your district, but you've also focused on some of the things town-wide that are important. And you've got a series of green initiatives that you've been advocating for. Tell us about that.
Well, I started working with when Steve Fury Rosenfeld was in the first district, and now Val Cartwright is moving forward with those initiatives that he began. But we started with Green Homes and Go Solar, where we were giving people incentives to invest.
What kind of incentives can the town provide? I know that there are tax incentives and there are grants that come through LIPA.
Right. We actually had a pool of money. We were providing monetary incentives for them to invest in tightening their homes, and that's the first thing that we were moving forward, because you do not want to put a solar panel on your roof unless you have first invested in all of those energy conservation measures, because then the heat or the air conditioning then just flows out of the cracks by your windows, through the roof, out the sill, at the bottom of the foundation, and where it meets the house. So we pushed that forward first, the green homes, and then we had actually a lottery where we provided incentives for people to invest in solar power. And so now we're moving forward with additional measures as far as solar. I'm actually on a committee that David Colon is the chair, and we're looking at where to place larger scale solar within the town of Brookhaven, and we have our planning department on the committee looking at different sites to locate solar panels. So we're looking at, one of the things we discussed at the last meeting was putting them in the right-of-ways where LIPA has the high tension wires, because those are long and narrow right-of-ways that we could possibly put solar panels, as well as some of, obviously the parking areas. We want to use our parking areas, our rooftops, and some of the larger scale parcels.
What about geothermal? That's another area that
yes,
where there are opportunities.
There are opportunities. I actually have a development that is very close to where I live in Middle Island going geothermal. It's more of certainly an investment, but it is moving forward, and it does make sense, to invest in geothermal.
How does that work? I mean, I've heard it's been explained to me. I'm not quite sure. What it means to take advantage of water and how you recycle it and to save on heating and save on cooling. Right.
It's, I'm not sure all the technical aspects either, but, you're tunneling down into, the water. I'm not really sure exactly.
And I know that what it does is keeps the heat at a constant temperature.
Yes.
So you're either bringing it up in the winter,
yes,
and it takes less to do that, and cooler,
right,
and it helps to cool.
Yeah. It can be an expensive option, but
yeah.
For larger homes, it makes sense.
It makes sense. The town initiated a single stream recycling. How is that going? It's called Green Stream.
It's going very, very well. We have really increased our recycling rates because of.
So when they talk about single stream, I mean,
single streams means.
What does that mean?
We used to have to separate, so we had paper, 1 week. Where you put out all your newspaper and cardboard and those types of material. And then we had cans and bottles, the next week. Now it's single stream. You can put everything every week. And it's just more convenient for people. So recycling rates have really gone up.
I mean, most people are happy to separate at the home.
Yes.
But where it got complicated was figuring out, is this week paper or is it plastic?
Yes.
Is it next week cans? What is it?
We had a little calendar.
Yeah, nobody looks. I have the calendar. I put it up somewhere. I never looked.
I know. And then we have this big, we call it the big green machine. So it separates at the landfill, which is amazing to watch. So it's very efficient. We had investment into that, but on the private sector, people invested in building the green machine so that we can source separate at the landfill rather than at people's homes.
So as the recycling rates go up, what does it mean for the disposal of the rest of the refuse that they collect?
Well, the rest of the refuse that we collect goes to Covanta,
which is a resource for Covanta. So
yes.
I would assume that there'd be less going there, assuming your recycling rates.
There is less,
increase.
But still. We still depend on, our garbage picks up, because, not everybody, unfortunately, participates in recycling. So, it goes to Covanta, and Covanta burns the garbage. We get the ash.
Okay. Let's talk about e-waste. The other day I was looking through my closet, and I found a container filled with old computers, a couple of old computers, a couple of old laptops,
yes,
some old printers, and a bunch of wires.
I know.
What is the town doing to try to facilitate the proper disposal?
We have days that, we have e-waste collection days, and at the landfill we're always collecting. We separate the e-waste. One of the, I have been to the different sites when we have the e-waste collection, like we had at the Boys and Girls Club. So they'll have it in spots within communities to make it convenient, special pickup days that people can bring their old laptops or printers or, computers that they're not using. And everybody has them. I think I still have the first, I use Apple, so I think I still have the first Apple computer.
You should save that.
It's
probably going to be collector's item. Save that. It's like my old baseball card collection that my mother threw out. I still haven't forgiven her. And I know there's one coming up on March 28th at the Charles Walters Elementary School.
Charles E. Walters, yes, in Yaphank. Yes.
In Yaphank, that's on Everett Drive. Okay, so that's e-waste and the shredding event that'll be going on there. All right, we have to take a short break. I want to talk to you about an initiative called Complete Streets, what that means, and also what you're doing to make sure that the Carmen's River stays as pristine as it is today. So we'll have more Meet the Leaders in about 90 seconds. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Understanding bills can be frustrating. Your last medical bill would confuse a CPA. Auto repair bills look like they're written in a foreign language. Why can't companies make things easy for you? At Optimum, we break down every charge on your bill with a personalized video available right on your TV. Easy. Watch your personalized video bill on Channel 900. Optimize your service.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
There are worse things than missing work, like missing work to do errands. We'd hardly call teeth cleaning a vacation. That's why Optimum offers appointments when it's convenient for you, with 3-hour blocks available 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We even install on Sundays, letting you use your time off for actual time off.
Well, I'm glad somebody's working today.
Optimize your service.
Welcome to Meet the Leaders, here with Brookhaven Town Councilwoman Connie Kepert. Let's talk about Complete Streets.
Okay.
What does that euphemism mean?
It means
these
that
days?
The streets should not only be designed for the movement of automobiles, but for everybody who uses them, which is obviously pedestrians, cyclists, and automobiles. So Complete Streets would include obviously the roadway for the cars, a bike lane, and a sidewalk.
So in Brookhaven, typically you have to build a road, and if you build a road, depending on where it is, you may have to put sidewalks in. How does this type of legislation change that process from both a planning and, for that matter, a building standpoint?
Yes, and the legislation said that any time that our highway department goes in and paves a road, they have to evaluate it for bike lanes, particularly. The sidewalks are a little bit more expensive. It's a larger investment, and we usually get that through grants. Many of the sidewalks that we have constructed in the 4th District came from grants from the federal government that we then moved through the DOT, the Department of Transportation for the state, or from when somebody comes in with a development like the ones we previously discussed, we require them to include sidewalks on all frontages. So it's connecting those sidewalks that then get tricky.
So this legislation, give me examples of where it's already been effective.
Okay, all over, and this is one of the things that, all over Brookhaven.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm very, very proud of, because it's not only in the 4th District, it's everywhere.
Right.
So whenever they pave a road, they have to evaluate whether they should be putting bike lanes on it. So it's we're talking it can be in Mount Sinai, in Miller Place. These are outside of my district. In my district, it is in Yaphank, it's in Middle Island, it's in Gordon Heights, it's in North Bellport. It's just really been a tremendously successful.
You know what it reminds me of? I remember once seeing Senator Tom Harkin, who was the one who passed legislation to require that the needs of disabled people be factored into a whole host of programs, including highways and sidewalks and
yes.
all of that. And now, as a result of that legislation, you now have all the cutouts and all that. It's originally designed for people who perhaps are in wheelchairs, but it benefits all of us.
It does, absolutely. And that was a great piece of legislation. I was, in my previous life, a special education teacher, so I certainly know, the need. The need is absolutely there.
So this type of legislation, you pass it, and all of a sudden, over a course of 20 years, you look around and say, How did we ever?
I
how
know.
How did this happen?
Absolutely.
On such a on a broad basis, but it happened and it's changed everything. It's
It
great.
has changed everything.
It's really great.
And
All right, let's talk about Carmen's River. We have about
Okay.
4 minutes. I know we
Okay.
could have done a whole show on it.
Yes.
For people who aren't familiar with Carmen's River, describe what that river system is about and the work that you're doing to protect it.
Okay, let me describe where it is. The headwaters of the Carmen's River, where the river begins just south of the Longwood Library, which most people know where that is. And it runs to the mouth is in the hamlet of Brookhaven. So it is a river. It's one of our most pristine rivers in the town of Brookhaven. We're trying to keep it that way. And in order to keep rivers pristine, we need to reduce the nitrogen loading. And nitrogen comes from septic tanks or sewage treatment plants, from people over-fertilizing their lawns.
And what's the consequence of that when it gets into a freshwater
It,
area like that?
It just promotes growth, so it promotes plant growth. It chokes the river, and that is what has happened in the Forge.
The Forge River.
The
yeah.
Forge River out in Mastic. So we are using a couple of methods to ensure that that does not happen to the Carmen's River. So we're doing things like upzoning, and that means that we are making sure that when a person develops their property, they do so less intensely. So if they had a 1 acre, or if they had a 5 acre property, they can't put 5 houses there. You know, we're going up to A2 and A5, which means 1 house per 2 acres or 1 house per 5 acres. And on public property, we're going to A10. So if that ever leaves public hands, you can only build 1 house on every 10 acres. So that's the upzoning part. We are spending millions and millions of dollars acquiring property along the Carmen's
And
River.
how do you decide which properties are most essential
Well,
for that kind of purchase?
They get reviewed by our environmental division, and so they actually score them. We have an open space committee that helps with that process. Usually, of course, you want undeveloped sites. Right. The larger the site, the better, and the closer to the river. So they have all these criteria to look at when a piece of property is evaluated, and they rate them. You know, they have their highest rated properties that should be acquired, which I think we've gotten most of them.
So you've preserved about 120 acres
Right.
of open spaces, and of course there are county parcels and others that have
Yes.
been preserved.
Absolutely.
The
All along
county
the
park,
corridor,
all along
yes.
the corridor.
Yes.
So are you confident that by adopting these measures, that 2 generations, 3 generations from now, that the Carmen's will be in the same pristine shape that it is today?
I am. I think we have done an enormous job, and kudos to the entire board who have supported this, because it is an expensive prospect. But we've done an enormous job.
Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
That's a big deal.
Yes.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Meet the Leaders. Don't forget, you can catch this edition and all the Meet the Leaders shows on our website, meettheleaders.com. I'm Pat Halpin. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
No one likes to wait a moment longer than they have to. Which is why at Optimum, we take our appointments seriously. So seriously, we keep you updated every step of the way with our online progress tracker. And if we think we might not arrive during our 3-hour appointment window, we'll call to let you know.
Wait, you're on time.
Track your service appointment on optimum.net/tracker. Optimize your service.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Freewheel, the all-Wi-Fi device powered by Optimum Wi-Fi. If you've got Wi-Fi, you've got